These are the adventures of SV Prism. The crew on board are looking to experience new cultures and see new landscapes as they sail their 33-foot cutter beyond horizons. Boat launchings. A glorious but stressful day when your boat, and in our case our home, is suspended by industrial machines above the hard pavement. Prism, our Hans Christian 33 sailboat, is ready to be put back into the water after an intense refit on the hard. There was a long list of projects to be done, and luckily, we had no other distractions other than to get the boat ready for cruising. But before this, we had already had quite the adventure. I grew up going to Catalina during the weekends. My family and I had a 42-foot Californian powerboat. We had a mooring in Emerald Bay, so I grew up on the water. In the water, we're divers. I've always loved the ocean, and my sailing experience consisted of the 2 weeks every summer that I came up as a child to Goldero Camp and sailed sunfishes during that activity hour. So prior to that, John makes fun of me because I remember as a child looking over at sailboats that were on moorings next to us and wondering, where do they go when they go inside? I thought they had to army crawl and sleep in little bunks, it just didn't make any sense to me.
So my background in sailing is, I grew up sailing the San Francisco Bay with my family, and then we have always owned a boat in the Bay Area, Mason 43, so it was bigger boat sailing. And I also grew up near a sailing lake called Huntington Lake up in the Sierra Nevadas, where I used to race Hobie Cats and small monohulls like Santana 22s and stuff like that. And then when I started, I think when I was about 12 or 13, we started going to the BVI and kind of got a taste for actual cruising, because my dad was always really interested to go cruising, long-term cruising. And then the BVI, I kind of fell in love with the tropics, going to BVIs, and we did that every other year till I was 17, and just absolutely fell in love with it, and that kind of embedded into my brain that I really wanted to at least try to do it myself when I grew up, maybe just a chartering thing. I never really thought I was going to go into cruising until I was out of high school and kind of got a feel for I wanted to live a different life than all my friends and all my colleagues were doing, where they were just kind of locked in their job or at school, and I wanted to see more of the world and I really already enjoyed sailing, so I thought it was the most logical step.
After John asked me to sail around the world, we set off to find a sailboat. We asked his parents if we could take their beautiful sailboat, which is a Mason 43, and they told us to go get our own boat. Good advice. And so we searched. We probably went on every type of sailboat you could possibly imagine. At this point, I still didn't have any sailing experience. We had gone out on the Mason a couple of times, but it's not your home, you're on someone else's boat and they're doing all the work, so you're just kind of sitting back enjoying a beer while you're sailing the San Francisco Bay. So we searched and searched, not really knowing what we wanted in a sailboat, but and having no money, and we just searched and searched, and then finally we got money, and then it was just burning a hole in our pocket. So I think we kind of jumped on the opportunity of our first boat and bought a boat that really, it was a good learning experience, let's just put it that way. It was a little 28-foot sailing sloop, and it treated us well. And that was our first boat, and it was in really rough shape when we bought it. We spent a bunch of time rebuilding that boat, refurbishing it, putting all new stuff on it, thinking it was going to be the boat that we were going to sail the world in. John's dad the whole time was, cracking jokes at us and saying, no, guys, this is your first boat, it won't be your last boat. And it definitely won't be the boat that you take around the world.
What are you going to do, Dad?
Hey, this is fun.
Huh?
Can't wait to do this in another week or two.
There's the wires.
We're going to tear it apart in a week or two.
Yeah, what are we going to do in a week or two?
Oh, there'll be another project like this.
Okay. Tara was the first big boat, actually cruising boat that I owned, and I owned it along with Shannon, and we did a major refit on Tara. Turned it into a really cool pocket cruiser, and it was kind of our boat school too. It was kind of like our private boat school that we had. We took 2 years building it, and pretty much learned how to do almost everything when it came to electrical, plumbing, painting, epoxy. I mean, we got a lot of first-hand experience doing that that boat project.
All right, so nav station is about 80% done. All the framework's done, which is good. We just did the interior shelves for behind the seats, which will be accessible from the side, and it's been backed. Basically, all that you need to do now with the nav station is we just need to skin it, and once it's skinned, it's ready to rock and roll. The next biggest project is to make the seat, because the seat is removable. It's gonna have this nice cool curve to it, so it's gonna look really pretty like that. Got all the materials for that today, and that'll be a nice little build. But the nav station needs to be skinned before I start doing that. And then over here we're gonna have where our switchboard's gonna be, and because these angles are really funky, I need to figure out how I'm really gonna design this. If it's gonna be angled or if it's gonna be straight up and down.
For the past week and a half, we have been working on wiring on this boat, and John's going to start on the plumbing today. Van, John's dad, came and helped us because when it came to wiring, we had no idea what we were doing. So the first thing we did when it came to wiring is we had to actually run the wire. So John bought the marine grade 10 gauge wire, right?
No, that's 14 and 16.
Oh.
John said, cut out the floor. That's how it all started.
Yeah.
Cut out the floor.
That's exactly how it started.
Let's cut out the floor.
That's how it all started. Just the floor. Decided to sell Tara, we really put our heads together and figured out what it was that we liked about the boat we already owned and what it was that we wanted in our dream boat. And the Hans Christian 33 always came up in dream boats to own, but it was always out of our reach, price-wise. We just, you know, for the longest time we kind of shoved it to the side. We're like, hey, that's not reality. We can't look at that. It's just it's over there.
These nice boats that used to be well out of our price range, all of a sudden turned into our price range. And that's kind of where we started looking at Hans Christian 33s. And Prism was one of the very first ones we ever saw online, and they were asking like 100 grand for it. And it was just always, I mean, it had a lot of cruising gear on it, so we always we always compared everything to Prism. So if we saw like a rough Hans Christian 33 for 60 to 70,000, it's like, well, why don't we just save the money and time and buy Prism instead? And that was always kind of our delegation. And then we got into, I mean, it was kind of those things where we waited, I mean, probably I think 3 or 4 months in California. We saw, I think we only stepped foot on, I think, one Hans Christian 33 in California. And it made sense that we were gonna have to broaden our horizon to see more boats. And so I contacted the broker that had Prism, and at this point we had known that the boat had been on the market for about a year, and the price had dropped 10 grand. And so usually, and to me, if the price has dropped 10 grand, that means the seller's willing to go lower. And so we made them a ridiculously low ball offer, and they didn't take it, but it got us to the point of the negotiation that we at least got to their bottom dollar.
We made an offer without even seeing the boat because it's in Washington and we didn't have the time to go up and look at it. So we did a blind offer, and with our offer we sent the owners a little note about ourselves saying, we're young, we want to sail so bad, the Hans Christian has been our dream boat, and it's always been out of our reach, we would really love it. Kind of sweet talked the whole idea. They took our offer, and we kind of like dumbfounded when we were like, whoa, wait a minute, is this really happening? Are we are we possibly getting our dream boat? Is this actually happening? And we tried really hard selling Tara on our own with no luck, so listed her with a broker, and the broker told us he could sell it in a month, no problem. And we were like, okay, yeah, whatever, right? So very sure of himself. And we packed up our car and drove to Washington, ready to buy this boat. And get up there, and it is actually more than everything that we were told it was. There were a few things, you know, the listing said that the decks were gone and that the decks needed to be replaced, or, you know, and we get there and John's, you know, looking at the boat, and it's the tabernacle mast, which was a bonus. We're like, whoa, that's, you know, that's interesting for if we want to go to Europe. And the decks were not screwed on from the top, they were screwed on from the bottom. So that was a huge, which I don't think the owners realized. So all of a sudden this boat was a reality, and here we are at the brokers signing the papers over, and it's like, oh my gosh, the bill of sale and then the pink slip and the documentation, and we're holding it and we're like, oh my god, this is our boat. Let's go get to our boat.
The San Juan Islands up in Washington, the Pacific Northwest, and the whole Puget Sound for that matter, it was a very interesting experience. When Shannon and I bought Prism, it was, you know, the first thing that's in your head is like getting to tropics. And so the whole time we were in the San Juans, my brain was like in tropical mode. And so that was kind of hard to fully enjoy San Juans. I wasn't really in the mood for San Juans, but we still had a really good time doing it. You know, we're more water people, so not being able to swim around really, there's a few areas we did swim, but like the fact that the water's extremely cold, you know, it wasn't particularly for us at that time. We need to really be burnt out on hot tropical waters before I want to go back to the San Juan.
So I am writing our log, getting ready for our first cruise out of Tacoma. And we are heading up to Shilshol Marina, which John always thinks is funny because it sounds like, can you bleep out curse words? Because it sounds like whole marina. But apparently is one of the nicest marinas in the Seattle area and the largest. So we're gonna go sail. Feels like we have some wind, looking forward to it. And then go fart around in downtown Seattle, have some fun. We had a nice little gust there. Looks like we've got some wind line up ahead.
Any thoughts about leaving Tacoma?
Only one regret, and that's that we didn't go to the Glass Museum. We are eating, I don't know, lettuce wraps, sandwich lettuce wraps.
It's pretty fancy.
I am fancy.
Just motoring away.
motoring against the tide, eating chips, going to
Port Ludlow.
Port Ludlow.
Like 5 knots. Absolutely calm. You know, we were motoring for the first half, and then yeah, out of nowhere, this 20, probably gust up to 25, but huh? No, I like this. I'm letting my heart come back. So, but it's once again a comfortable ride. We were pushing it a little there, I felt. It's lovely. I mean, the sun could come out and it would be nice, but this boat's just a champ. Love it. I really don't have to do anything. My feet are more or less resting on the wheel than steering. So, doing any actual real work. So, just enjoying the scenery, waiting for some orcas. So we left at 2 o'clock, had a great sail, hit some really good wind, put us here at 8 o'clock, and we have the whole place practically to ourselves with the moon shining. Perfect. Just awesome day.
The hiking and the islands themselves were absolutely gorgeous. We got pretty lucky on the outside, the upper ends, right in between the U.S. and Canadian border, with some good wind and some good sailing up there. And you know, every time we went out, we looked out for orcas, which I wanted to see one. The pod of orcas was the #1 thing I wanted to see while we were in the Pacific Northwest, and we didn't see one, not one. But luckily the islands really made up for that, the hiking and the breathtaking views at the top of islands. I mean, that was just absolutely beautiful, you know. And the water, I mean, the water lies to you. You know, it's warm, it's, you know, middle of August, and it's absolutely gorgeous in the Pacific Northwest. And the water's saying like, hey, jump in, I'm beautiful, crystal clear. And you jump in and you go into, hypothermia and shock. And next thing you know, you've got a yolk jelly attached to your leg and you're like, what is this place? So where are we? We are off the coast of Oregon, past almost parallel to Portland. Little squall is coming through. They come on you fast, then they leave you fast. Turned off the engines. We motored all last night, so it's kind of nice to have the quiet. We have the sea swell coming out of the west, less than a meter. Just scooting right along. Doesn't look like this rain will last long. Hopefully.
That's good because I'm getting claustrophobic.
That's not good. When you're out there on a long passage, and when you finally lose sight of land, all that's left is open ocean. There's something calming and yet terrifying. For days on end, you get to experience Mother Nature at her finest.
There's something majestic about the open ocean. It makes you feel like you're very small compared to your surroundings. I really enjoy the time at sea, especially in a small boat. I feel it brings you closer to the ocean, almost like putting your head down on someone's chest and hearing their heartbeat. It's a very special connection to have. Sometimes the connection becomes a little uncomfortable.
The Oregon coast was just horrible to us. We had almost no wind and high seas. And I remember sitting in the cockpit one time and, we're getting picked up by these seas and kind of surfing down. And I'm sitting there thinking, I love this boat.
The moment I saw the gate, I felt really comfortable all of a sudden. It was like, you know, we just beelined it. I could have done it with almost my eyes closed, and, you know, got to our slip and just took a big, you know, breath of relief.
Rum.
So we're here in Prism inside, and you can see that she's kind of a mess right now.
I have it categorized into somewhat organized areas.
My project today is to get all this stuff into a 33-foot sailboat and not know it's there.
We are doing our last diesel fueling. Pretty disappointing. I can't seem to stop the leak.
Here we are, leaving San Francisco Bay once again. We would like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Please subscribe to our channel, as we will be uploading more videos as we sift through hundreds of hours of footage that has already been captured while sailing the Californian and Mexican coast. If you haven't already checked out our website, you can by visiting svprism.com. These videos are completely made and self-funded by us. If you enjoy them, please consider leaving us a donation. Fair winds and following seas.